to start out, I want to read something about what I wrote about James Harden in the all-time greatest NBA book. So I'm going to pull that up here. See, but the problem is, I don't know what app to use to read this. Because, I could use the Kindle, because the book's available on Amazon, as you know. But I could use books, since the book is now available on the Apple Store. Or I could use Kobo. Just so many options. It's a dilemma, is what it is. Alright, so I wrote this. Quote, since he forced his way to the Philadelphia 76ers to play with Joel Embiid, he most likely won't be in the exclusive club of players that won a championship as the best player in the team. The question is, if he ever wins a title, how will it come about? Will he look like Clyde Drexler for the 1995 Houston Rockets team, averaging just over 20 points per game and only being limited to a few vintage performances? Will he look like Elvin Hayes and the Sixers win the title in a Game 7 scenario, with James Harden failing short again for making any contributions on the scoring end? Or will he look like Gary Payton or Dwight Howard by winning the title 5 years down the line as one of the elder statesmen of the team? End of quote. So I have him ranked right now at 31st all time, just at the cusp of the top 30. The reason why I have him there is because I refuse to put anybody in the top 30 if you've never at least helped your team make the finals while being in the starting rotation. Doesn't matter, how staggering your numbers are. Doesn't matter how great of a talent you are. If you've never at least reached the finals while being one of the main reasons why, I just can't have you there. But that's just me. So this is his chance. He's 32 years old and is looking like he's starting to decline. I mean, it's been nearly a full calendar year since he has scored 40 points in a game. And it wasn't that long ago when he was doing that what seemed like every other game. Now he's giving you 20 and 10, which isn't bad, but he's only shooting 40% from the field. So the writing's on the wall. His MVP days are over. We shouldn't expect him to play like he's the best player in the world on a consistent basis. He's not even the best player on his team. The Philadelphia 76ers is Joel Embiid's team. And by the way, that is completely normal. What LeBron James has done has messed up our perception of how a player should perform in the late stages of their career. He averaged 30 points per game at the age of 37. Do you know how many players 34 years or older have averaged over 30 points per game throughout the history of the league? It's just one. It's just LeBron James. And if you look at the number of players 34 years or older who have averaged at least 25 points per game, there's only been 7 players. So we're talking LeBron James, we're talking Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Bernard King, Karl Malone, Alex English, and Dominique Wilkins. So LeBron is the exception. What he's doing is not normal. What's happening to James Harden and Russell Westbrook is. So that's why we're saying, listen, at this point, you would rather win the championship as the second best player on the team than to win it while playing 10 minutes a game 3 or 4 years down the line. With that being said, it's fair to expect him to play like the best player in the world for at least a game or two, when the Sixers really need it. And we've seen it in the past with MVP caliber players who won a championship late in their careers, when they were the team's second scoring option. 2 examples come to mind. We have Dwyane Wade in 2012 and Clyde Drexler in 1995. So here's how they did in each of their respective championship runs. Wade averaged 22.8 points per game on 46% shooting, 5.2 rebounds per game, and 4.3 assists per game. Drexler averaged 20.5 points per game on 48% shooting, 7 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game. So can Harden help a team win a championship while averaging 20 and 10? Yeah, I believe so. It's basically what Wade and Drexler did in the years where they won a championship. You would want Harden to shoot more efficiently, but it could be done. But Harden will have to put up some vintage performances if the Sixers want a chance to at least make the finals. Because that's what we're talking about here. No one thinks that they'll win the title, but can you at least help your team make the finals? Wade did that for the Heat in 2012. And don't forget, Chris Bosh was out for basically the whole semifinals against the Indiana Pacers. They were shorthanded, and the Heat found themselves in a 2-1 series deficit. So how did the Heat take control of the series? Obviously, LeBron James took his game to another level, but so did Wade. When LeBron went for 40 points, 18 rebounds, and 9 assists in Game 4, Lord have mercy. Wade also went for 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists to help the Heat tie the series up. And in Game 6, LeBron was the one that took a back seat, and Wade put up a forgotten vintage performance. He goes for 41 points on 68% shooting and 10 rebounds. That helped the Heat advance to the conference finals. And Drexler did the same thing in '95. In the first game of the playoffs, against a Utah Jazz team that won 60 games in the regular season, Hakeem goes for 45 points on 67% shooting, and the Rockets lose, because Drexler scored only 8 points on 7 shot attempts. So Hakeem is looking at his teammate saying, I can't do this by myself. I need you to step up your game. And that's what he did. He goes for 30 points on 70% shooting the next game. In Game 4, he goes for 41 points on 67% shooting. In fact, Hakeem also went for 40 points that game as well, which I believe is only the second time since the merger that a pair of teammates went for 40 points in a playoff game. Then in the series deciding Game 5, he goes for 31 points and 10 rebounds. To be that title contending team, they needed Clyde to play like that, and they barely escaped. But imagine if Drexler didn't play as he did in that first round series. The Rockets wouldn't have won the title that year. So that's what the Sixers need from Harden. You don't have to average 30 a game. You can average 20 to 22 a game the rest of the way. But the Sixers will absolutely need him to play like the old Harden during some crucial games against the Miami Heat this series, especially with Embiid being out. And maybe that's what he'll need to get his confidence back and to go ham, like the kids say, back in like 2010. But if we're being honest here, Drexler wouldn't have won the title in '95 if Hakeem doesn't arguably give one of the 10 greatest playoff performances by a player of all time. And Dwyane Wade doesn't win the title in 2012 if LeBron James doesn't give arguably the greatest playoff run ever. I don't think it's the greatest, but I think there's no question it's in the top 3. So if the Sixers want a chance at making history, Embiid has to take his game to a level he's never reached in the playoffs. This is his moment to start his trajectory as one of the greatest big men of all time. But he's got to play like an MVP in the playoffs, not just a regular season. So we'll see if Embiid and Harden has what it takes. Well, that's it for today. Before I sign off, I got a blog alert. One more time for Yeah. I wrote a blog about Kevin Durant, and I talk about something that everyone has failed to bring up. This isn't the first time that an all-time great player has gone swept from the first round. In fact, there have been 8 players that have gone through the same thing. Does that mean that we should give KD a pass? Go check it out. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time.